We make things. We use our hands, minds, and machines to build, to fix, to improve. We're known as do-it-yourselfers, home improvement fans, fix-it fanatics, inventors. At our core, though, we're all makers. So let's jump in and make something. Hi, I'm Ron Hazelton. Welcome to the show. Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that can seep into your home through basements, crawl spaces, or concrete slabs. How do you know it's present? Just how dangerous is it? And most importantly, how do you get rid of it? I'll answer all these questions today. There's something about an arched entryway that's pleasing to the eye and inviting to pass through. Here's a simple to install kit that will convert just about any ordinary doorway into something special. The foundation for a lush green lawn is healthy soil. You know the condition of your soil? Testing is simple, but there are a few important things to know beforehand. My home office is down here in the basement. The other day I was reading an article about radon and wondering if I might be at risk. So, just what is radon?
Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that's created by the decomposition of radium. Radium is a naturally occurring element found in all rock and soil to one degree or another. So whether or not a home has a radon problem depends upon how much radium is present in the soil that the structure is built upon. Testing is the only way you're going to know whether or not you have a problem.
Where's the highest concentration of radon likely to be?
Homes with finished basements are more susceptible to elevated exposures. So by all means, whenever testing, you test the lowest lived-in level of the home. So a family room in the basement constitutes that.
There are do-it-yourself radon testing kits available that are easy to use. Set the unit in place, leave it undisturbed for the prescribed amount of time, then send the device to a testing lab for results. I've decided to have the tests professionally done. Another online search leads me to HomeSpec, a local home inspection company specializing in radon. The next day, Ross Previtt comes by the house and sets up an electronic radon detection and measurement monitor in the finished portion of the basement. 2 days later, he returns and downloads the test data. The results show that the amount of radon in my basement is 50% higher than the Environmental Protection Agency's action level of 4.0 picocuries per liter. Based on this EPA standard, I'm substantially above the level at which action should be taken to reduce radon concentrations. But just what kind of a health risk does this pose?
Based upon extended exposure, there's an increased risk of lung cancer. Radon is thought to be the #1 leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers and the second leading cause of lung cancer in the general population after smoking.
I know I've got elevated radon levels, and I also know that that can be a serious health hazard. So I'm going to have to do something about it. I'm going to go online here and look under Radon Mitigation. A search revealed several local companies. I decided to contact this one, Connecticut Basement Systems Radon. After an initial consultation, I elected to have them do the work. A few days later, Rafael and Javier arrived to install the system. A radon mitigation system draws air from beneath the basement slab through a hole bored into the floor. A pipe or duct is inserted into the hole and run outside where an inline fan expels the air and radon gas above the roofline. But how does radon get into the home in the first place?
Radon enters the home via many different entry points, through the porosity of the concrete itself, through openings in the floor, whether it be through floor cracks, openings in the perimeter, floor drains and sump holes, dirt crawl spaces. Anywhere where there's any kind of permeability and there's a source underneath the home, radon will find a way in.
Before the actual installation begins, the technicians bore 2 test holes on opposite sides of the basement floor. They apply suction to one of the holes and use a vacuum meter on the other. This test will verify that air beneath the slab can in fact be evacuated. With the test complete, a 3-inch hole is bored through the basement floor. A section of PVC pipe is inserted into the hole, and the gap around the pipe is sealed. 3-inch PVC is now run across the basement. The joints are cemented, and the pipe itself is hung from the joists with J-hook pipe hangers. The pipe run is then connected to the vertical section coming up from the floor. Once it's determined where the pipe will exit the basement, a smaller locator hole is bored through the rim joist. Then a 3-inch hole saw bores a hole large enough for the pipe. A section of PVC is inserted through the hole and connected to the pipe run inside. Next, a Radon Mitigation fan, engineered to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is attached to the 3-inch PVC and connected to a power supply. Although the fan will be running continuously, a weather-resistant switch is installed so the system can be shut off manually if needed. The PVC pipe is run horizontally to a location near the downspout, then upward and around the eave. The final section of pipe extends the run well above the roof line. This device installed inside continuously monitors the system and visually verifies that everything is functioning properly. So to recap, that fan outside is creating negative pressure or a vacuum in this pipe, which is drawing out air and radon gas that's trapped beneath the basement floor right here. I know the fan is working because of this monitor. So the air and radon gas is traveling up here, across the basement, and then outside where it's exhausted above the roof line. If you're buying a home, here's one final bit of advice from the experts.
We recommend that every person who is interested in purchasing a property have a radon test performed prior to purchasing that home so they know what they're getting into. Some homes will test out higher in the wintertime versus the summertime. And so therefore, a person buying a home in the summertime who did a test, found a low reading, they never test again and think that they're protected. But that same house in the wintertime can have a much higher radon concentration.
You know, when it comes to first impressions, entryways communicate a lot. They can be inviting, welcoming, in effect say, hey, come on in. Here, inside the foyer, I've got a second chance to make a first impression. Now, what I want to do is install a decorative archway so that I can frame this opening into the living room. Now, when I was at the International Builders Show last year, I saw something that caught my eye. So I'm going to go online and see if I can find it. A Google search under Curved Archway Kit leads me to www.curvemakers.com. After a little bit of exploration around their website, I find what I'm looking for. So I place my order. A few weeks later, I get the word that the kit is on its way. So I go to work preparing the opening. The first step is removing the existing casings and jamb. To keep from damaging the surrounding wall, I first cut through the paint and caulk with a utility knife. Now, I like this style knife for the job because I can simply break away a dull blade, exposing a fresh cutting edge. For this job, no question about it, sharp is better. To keep from crushing or breaking the wallboard, I drive a wide putty knife behind the casing. Tap in this flat, spoon-shaped bar and pry the trim gently away. Once I've opened up a gap, I switch to this type of pry bar, which gives me more leverage and movement. Typically, the door frame or jamb is nailed into the framing at several points. The nails are usually driven through shims. For me, the quickest way to free the frame is by cutting through the nails with a reciprocating saw, using a multi-purpose blade that's designed to cut both wood and metal nails. With all the nails cut, the door frame tilts right out of the opening. Well, I've encountered a small hitch. It seems these switches are too close to the opening and will prevent the archway column from slipping into place. The solution is to move them a couple of inches to the left. First, I remove the switches from the electrical box and then begin cutting away the wallboard so I can gain access to the wiring. Next, I remove the staples holding the armored cable in place and pry the electrical box bracket free from the wall stud. What I'm hoping to do is screw a 2x4 to the stud and attach a 1x4 on top, then remount the box. If I have enough slack in the cable, I can do it. It works. Now it's time to replace the wallboard. First, I attach cleats or backer boards to the left, top, and bottom edges of the opening. Then, using 80 grit sandpaper, I create a small bevel around the opening and on the edge of the patch. I can simply apply the compound, press it firmly into the joint and over the recessed screw heads, then skim off the excess. I'll let this dry, do a light sanding, and probably come back with a second coat. Well, once I get a coat of paint on that, you'll never know I was inside that wall. Now, chances are you won't have to relocate an electrical switch if you decide to put in an archway. But you know what I found? More often than not, I do run into some kind of little problem, some detour. And as you can see, it's just not that big a deal to handle it. Well, I'm going to grab my archway. Now, it's time to bring in the new archway and get the opening ready to receive it. Well, this is my archway kit. Now, even though it's very detailed, it really only has 3 components: an archway header and 2 archway columns. You know, you're going to be really amazed at how easily this goes in. The first step in preparing the opening for the archway kit is installing 1x4 cleats to the framing on the upper corners. Once they're in place, I attach wallboard using drywall screws. Now, I'm careful to countersink the screw head slightly, but not enough to break the paper face. When I finish the first side, I move on to the other. Now I put the columns into place temporarily and set a cardboard template that comes with the kit on top. With a marker, I trace the template outline onto the wallboard. Then remove the template and the columns. Using a drywall saw, I cut along the line, creating a curve that will form the top of the archway. Finally, I apply joint compound to the seams and skim off the excess. With the modifications to the opening complete, I install the first column by slipping it over the edge and pushing it into place. Next, I slide the archway header into position and use a piece of 1x2 to brace it. Notice how I've cut the brace just a little long so that it forms a slight bend when it's wedged into position. Now I fit the second column over the left side of the opening. Check both columns for plumb, then lower the header so that it's resting on top of the columns. Finally, I use a finished nail gun to secure the columns and header to the framing. Just a few nails are all that's needed. The nail holes are easily filled with spackle. Then it's time to apply a coat of primer that will be top-coated with a semi-gloss enamel. You know, I think the word elegant is often overused, but in this case, I believe it applies. And this was as easy as 1, 2, 3. A lawn is only as good as the earth in which it's growing. If your grass is not looking the way you'd like it to, well, maybe it's time to test the soil. A basic test will determine if your soil is too acidic or alkaline, detect high levels of soluble salt, which can come from lawn water or fertilizers, and measure phosphorus and potassium, both important lawn nutrients. You'll want to take several different soil samples from each unique area of your yard. Using a shovel or garden spade, make a V-shaped groove in the lawn 4 to 6 inches deep. With a trowel, remove a 1-inch thick sample from the center of the V. Place the soil in a clean plastic bucket or container. Take additional soil samples from 5 or 6 other locations in the same area. Combine all the samples in the same bucket. Remove any grass, roots, litter, or rocks, then mix the samples together to blend them. Now you're ready to have your sample tested. Your local Agricultural Research and Extension Center can do it for you, usually at no cost. Or you can purchase a soil test kit like this one. All you need to do is fill in your name and address, place the soil sample in the pouch, and drop the kit in the mail. The testing lab will complete the analysis within 3 days of receiving the sample and send you an email link where you can view the results. If any of the values are too high or too low, your soil test report will tell you what to do about it. So why guess what your grass needs when you could know for sure?
To view today's projects again, visit ronhazelton.com. Step-by-step home improvement tips when you need them. Let Ron show you how to do it yourself.